All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Huxley Barbee. I'm the only Huxley Barbee you're ever going to meet. And I am the organizer for this conference. I know you're very disappointed because my name is not John Hammond. But I assure you I will go as quickly as possible so that we can get to John's origin story. First and foremost, I want to remind everybody that when you bought a ticket, you check the box that says that you are familiar with our code of conduct and anti-harassment policy. I hope that everybody will make sure that anybody who's attending can enjoy this conference, learn from this conference no matter who they are and how they choose to express themselves. A couple of other reminders. One is for all the sessions, we are going to clear all the rooms for the next session. So that means you can't sit here after one session to attend the next one. You have to go back out, get back on the queue in order to come back in. Appreciate all of your cooperation on that. There are 4 talks today that will not be recorded at the speaker's request. Once again, I hope everybody will abide by their request of us. That means no recording by us. Also, everybody should have their phones put away for those sessions. Our volunteers will remind you if they see that you have your phone out. Once again, I appreciate your cooperation there. So, here's a quick overview of the conference today. We have 4 speaking tracks. Red team talks are in this room. Blue team talks are downstairs in L2. The other colors of the InfoSec color wheel talks are also downstairs as well. We also have an entrepreneur track, which is down the hall at L.76. Over here, the room next door over is not a talk track, it's actually a workshop track. If you have a laptop, you're welcome to join us in the workshop room for one of the workshops that we have today. We have t-shirts available for you. They're going to be 1 floor up. Each of you in your swag bag should have a t-shirt ticket. You need that to redeem a t-shirt for yourself. The same thing goes for lunches. You should have a ticket in your swag bag for lunch. Lunch is obviously not here yet. It will be here in a few hours. Once it arrives, you can take that ticket, go upstairs, and redeem your lunch. We have multiple villages here today. We have some on the Hound Square, which is 2 levels up. And then we have more villages on the 2nd floor dining hall as well. Please go and visit them. New this year is we have a career center. So we have resume reviewers as well as career counselors that are staffing some tables 2 levels up. Please, you're welcome to go there and speak with them to get your resume reviewed or to ask them questions about your career and things like this. We also have 4 Capture the Flags today, not just 2 that are listed up here. There are 4 Capture the Flags. We got CTFD.io, Close versus Joe's, Red Team Village, and AI Village as well. One very important thing I want to mention to everybody is the conference survey. There's a QR code, and if you don't want to scan the QR code, I have the URL there for the Google form. It is very, very important for you to please provide your feedback to this conference. Many of the new things that you're seeing here today, for example, the fact that the conference is now contiguous as opposed to scattered over multiple rooms, or the fact that we have a career center, is in fact based on the feedback from prior years. I read every single one of the responses to the survey, and this is really your conference, and I need your input to make it better for next year and the years beyond. So please, 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 please take the time to provide feedback via that survey. All right, and the last thing I wanted to mention before we move on is the fact that you all have $0 tickets today. So think about what you have. You have a PCB badge. You're going to get a t-shirt. You get lunch. You get a variety of swag. You have this very large space that we're making use of today. Why is it $0? How is it possible that this is free when a Coke is like $5 these days and a $1 pizza is like $3 everywhere you go? The reason why all this is free to you is because of these names up here. It is because of our sponsors that you have this opportunity at such a low cost. And so it behooves all of you to please, please, please visit all of our sponsors, say hi to them, listen to what they have to say about their products, and maybe learn a little bit more about what they can offer to you in your jobs. Now, just to further sweeten the deal for all of you, each of you should have one of these sponsor passports in your swag bag. If you get 15 stars from 15 different sponsors, you can come to the operations desk and hand this to us, and you'll be entered into a raffle for prizes that will be redeemed at the end of today. All right? The prizes are worth between $50 and $250. There'll be 3 of these given out, and some of the sponsors may piggyback on top of this as well, so there may be additional prizes on top of that. All right? You have absolutely no reason to not go talk to at least 15 sponsors. All right? But of course, among all the sponsors, perhaps the most important one is John Jay College, who has donated this space to us. And so, you, captive audience, may I introduce to you Professor Shweta Jain, who is head of the Mathematics and Computer Science Department, to give us a few words about John Jay College.
Sounds like I paid good price to come here. It was totally worth it, right? Hello, BSides. Thank you for choosing us again this year. We've had the pleasure to host you for the past 3 years, and before the pandemic for a few more. So thank you. I'm very happy to welcome you all at John Jay College. If this is the first time you're here, I want to let you know a little bit about John Jay. We have 12,000 plus undergraduates and graduate students here at John Jay. Our most popular majors are computer science, criminal justice, and psychology. We are a Hispanic Civic Institute. We have 41% Hispanic, 26% Black students, 18% white, and 14% Asian students. We are a diverse college. 75% of our students come from New York City public schools. 85% of our students graduate with 0 student debt. And 50% are first in family to go to college. So if you see a student over here, you will find that they are really excited to be here, and they're here for their education. We were recently designated as the NSA Center of Excellence in Cyber Defense, so our curriculum is rigorously evaluated by NSA Program Officer. Our students are natural leaders, and I don't say that lightly. Nothing speaks for this louder than the fact that we have 2 tables here at the conference, and one of the tables I didn't even know about until Thursday. They reached out to Huxley and crew and asked for a table. They are at the Villages. They are the Computer Science Society. It's a club with I don't know how many members. I think they have at least 900 members right now, because that's approximately the strength of the undergraduate program. So if you see our students, you know that they are natural leaders, and they're here to learn, to advance their careers. And some of them are in the audience. Can I get a show of hands? Who's in our... Come on. Just one? No, there's a few of them. There they are. There they are. Thank you for coming. So if you're looking for talent, don't look any further than this room or this conference. If the student approaches you, please listen to them. Offer advice. Any small amount of mentorship goes a long way for their careers. And I can tell you they all have bright careers ahead of them. If you're looking for further your own education, I don't mind advertising that we have 35 undergraduate majors, 14 master's program, 20 certificate programs, and we have pathways to the cybersecurity master's program. So if anybody's looking to further their education, we have all here for you. Thanks for choosing us again this year. I hope you'll have a good time and you'll come back next year. And now it's my pleasure to introduce John Hammond. He's a cybersecurity researcher, educator, content creator. He's in the research and development threat operations team at Huntress. He spends his day analyzing malware, making hackers earn their access. He was previously Department of Defense Cyber Training Academy as an instructor. He has taught civilians and military members offensive Python, PowerShell, and other scripts. He's also a YouTube personality. So if you look for him on YouTube, you'll find programming tutorials, CTF video walkthroughs, and cybersecurity content. So please welcome John Hammond.
Alrighty, does the microphone work? It works! Excellent! Good morning!
Sorry,
hey everyone!
I need the podium mic there.
You need the podium mic. So I am a mobile. I do need to be tied to the podium. I'm sorry. I like to walk around, so I'll do my darndest, and hopefully there's not too much extra, like 3 microphones in the way here. But hey, thank you all so much for coming to hang out and let me be here with you all for BSidesNYC. This is kind of cool. This is a real awesome opportunity for me. This is a real treat and a real honor because I think it would be fun to tell you a little bit about my origin story. And with that, there is some good, bad, and ugly. That's kind of the subtitle here because, hey, maybe it's not all that we thought it would be when you're finding your way into the industry or finding your way into a passion or all the things that you're up to. So I hope you'll indulge me while we get to roll through the origin story. Let me note, though, that it gets a little bit weird, it gets a little bit strange, and I don't get to tell that story all that often, or particularly very publicly. It's not a story that most folks get to hear, and I'm grateful that you all are willing to tune in for what I'm up to. But I actually have to add a little caveat. When I realized, oh sure, hey, opening Keynote, that's pretty cool. That's very exciting. It's super surreal and super sweet for that invitation and opportunity. And Huxley had reached out, and we jumped on a Zoom call. Hey, we got to get together, and he offered this invitation. I'm flattered and honored. But he said, like, you know, John, the conference theme this year is actually inspired by something you said, John. Something you said on Twitter. And that is a very horrifying sentence, if I may say. That's not something that I would have thought would be a good thing. But he said, look, John, you alluded to the fact that BSidesNYC was your first ever cybersecurity conference. I was like, you know what, you're right, yeah. Way back when, looking at my origin story, this was the first ever conference, cybersecurity BSides, that I've ever been to. That's way back in 2018. And that, I guess, is part of my origin story. And way back in 2018, I was around over at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. We'll dive into more of that gory story very soon. But with all the cadets, this was kind of the first opportunity to go to a real security conference. And may I ask, is this folks' first BSidesNYC? Oh, that's awesome. Heck yeah. Anyone first, like, cybersecurity conference ever? Super cool. Well, thank you all for being here. So I attended with the Coast Guard Academy kidlets while I was there as just a cadet, and we had this unspoken tradition that just now began and started while we went to conferences and events like this, where we would commandeer some signage. We would swap and take, just a cutesy, the BSidesNYC 2 Villages sign to having kind of our lab and room and area there. So sorry about that, but it's a fun, kind of unspoken, silly thing now that we get to do. But I know that's an old picture. And with that, while I'm going back in time a little bit to tell the origin story, I have to add a warning. I need to add a disclaimer. Because I feel bad talking about myself. Very, very weird, narcissistic, selfish story. And I asked Huxley, Are you sure? Are you sure, especially for an open keynote? Like, I know it doesn't need to be extremely technical. We still want to get, hey, the audience hyped up, everyone involved in here. But it's a cybersecurity conference. It's tech, it's security. So we'll have some of that interweaved and mixed in, but the still good, bad, and ugly of the beginnings of how we got to all the stuff that we're up to now. And with that, I do need to get the obligatory credibility slide out of the way, the who am I, the introduction. I'm so grateful for that warm welcome. Really today, I'm spending my day job over at Huntress that came back from the Coast Guard Academy, where those roots kind of got started. Learn a little bit with the Department of Defense Cyber Training Academy, but folks might be a little bit more familiar with my work online and on the internet. And I know none of this really matters, stupid, dumb, fake internet points, but I am grateful for all of your support and making that become what it has become. So let me take us back in time. Bring us, not to say 2018 timeline, not to say 2017, maybe 2016, 2015, 2014, a little bit, maybe 10 years or so ago. How I kind of fell into what is cybersecurity. I think I grew up like any kiddo, like anyone thinking, oh, I want to make video games, because I was a young kid and I like to play video games. I thought, you know what, I want to become a hacker, like I see in the movies, like I see on TV. Hollywood has some like guy in a hoodie in the basement with the projector pointed at him, ones and zeros flying around. I was like, that looks cool. Hollywood and media kind of glorified that. And I Googled, I remember literally Googling how to become a hacker. And I found what was Eric S. Raymond, like one of the free and open source software, kind of the early visionaries in that front. I found his blog or his write-up and article literally titled, How to Become a Hacker. And way back when it was saying, look, you gotta learn some scripting, some coding, some programming. And it was Python, kind of the first language that they suggested. So in the early days, high school and such, I thought, well, let me learn just how to code. There was a little bit of Python here and there. And in those beginning, like, fundamental first steps, it was just trying to make things, trying to build, trying to create, experiment, make a website, make a web app, run a little bit of Linux here and there, and that opened the door. But that's high school timeline, I'll admit. And I was thinking, I got to now move on to university, college, school, and undergrad. But I had this thought, I would still really like to have some form of service in my life. Some military service some way, whether that's ROTC, whether that's going to, just enlisting, going right out of high school, whatever the case may be. And I had learned a little bit about these service academies. And if folks aren't tracking, in the US here, we have all the different military service academies. They are an institution like a college or school, undergrad, 4 years of college there, but you are now into the military branch of service. U.S. Air Force Academy, U.S. Military Academy for the Army, U.S. Naval Academy for the Naval Academy, etc., etc. And that was interesting to me because it was almost two birds with one stone. I could fit in some, military time that I knew I wanted in my life, and college and education. And I'll admit I was kind of risk averse. Growing up, I was thinking, look, I want this traditional path that everyone says, go to college. And I knew I still wanted some time here with the military. The thing about the service academies is that they are free. Big air quotes on free, because you are a member of the military, right? You're active duty. You're a cadet. You're paid with the monthly paycheck. And then whatever they need for your uniforms, or for your room and board, or for your textbooks, or for all of the things that both school and military time are taken out of your paycheck. So as a cadet, you are paid monthly, but you don't have a whole lot of funds. You're still kind of in school, and you're on base. You're on campus. You're usually locked into there, not having liberty, or the availability to go out, to go see the town, to go watch a movie at night, to go to dinner. You basically have to be in your room and on campus. Now, I applied thinking, this is the way. This is how I could find myself into my future. I had 2 nominations for the Naval Academy, 1 nomination for the Air Force Academy, and you need to go through some congressional nomination or have some House of Representatives, Senator kind of vote for you, give you the thumbs up to say, yes, I elect this individual for an appointment at the academies. I had one for an application in for West Point, the military academy, but I actually pulled that away because the Coast Guard Academy said yes. And that's the only one that does not require some nomination or congressional thumbs up. But let me add another kind of bullet point here. Coast Guard Academy is very small. And I think those service academies, USNA, Military Academy, Annapolis, and others, are also small. Maybe about 4,000 or so total students, cadets and midshipmen. Coast Guard Academy is like around 400. There will be maybe 100 or so students in a class. I think they've amped that up now, maybe 150, maybe 200 or so. But it is a small, tight-knit family kind of thing. And they don't particularly, or at the time when I attended, have a computer science program of study. Now, me growing up as a kiddo thinking, oh, I want to get into programming, I want to code, I want to be a hacker in some way or shape or form, they didn't have computer science. But it's a free 4-year education, but it's, an entry point and like your life handed to you on a silver platter, because then you've got a career, you've got a job right out of the gate in graduation. But they didn't particularly have my passion. They had an electrical engineering degree, but that is studies of signals and systems and Laplace transforms and Fourier stuff that I really don't use at all in my day-to-day. But I thought, let's do it. I do want that opportunity. I do want to set my life on the right track. That was the intent. And I opted, let's go all in for the Coast Guard Academy. Granted, that was moving from old New Hampshire, New England for me. Cutting up the high school graduation, getting that done. And YouTube has been a concurrent thread throughout my life. You might be able to see maybe something cutesy in the corner. YouTube was just about at 1,000 subscribers. Oh, something fun to get videos, training, and education out the door. And then I thought, well, we're going to put it on hold, because that was something while I was doing at high school. Along the way, I've been studying and learning. And now I'm going to go do Coast Guard stuff. Silly graduation pictures, getting in the car, you probably can't see it written on the window, but there's some like marker, crayon, Coast Guard or bust I was pretty hyped up about. And that was that. That was the new life, the new job. That was me thinking, okay, time to do boat stuff, which is not cybersecurity. And I was in the Coast Guard for a little bit, at the Coast Guard Academy. School, training, granted you go to class in uniform, you stand at the position of attention whenever you're a beginner or freshman, or they call these silly funny names for the new indoctrinated cadets. You might hear some other academies will call someone a plebe. I think that's the Naval Academy, or a cow. I don't know if military academies still do that. But for the Coast Guard, you are a swab for your very first year, and you always need to be at the position of attention. You need to square your corners and the way that you navigate or move around. You either have to sound off or shout and yell for a lot of the communication, and you always need to be at the absolute edge of the stairwell. The ladder well, they call it, or the P-way, or the bulkhead, or all those nautical terms doing boat stuff. So I had a lot of fun there, but it felt like I was putting cybersecurity and technology and computers and programming off to the side. While I played in a marching band, I joined the sailing team, got to ride around in this RHIB to keep an eye on some of the stuff. And then you go through a lot of summer training, because you are military, active duty, still training to become what would be an officer at the end of 4 years of school. That's the kicker. That's the gimmick. I don't know if I got that included as well as I should have, but look, once you graduate at one of the military academies, you spend 5 years now as a commissioned officer in that branch of service. That's the plan. That's the game plan. That's the idea that, okay, cool, I do have a job and something solid and certified for me getting out of school. But I'm doing a couple of the summer training things. You might be able to see me in the engine room. That's the Coast Guard cutter Eagle, a big tall ship. But I would spend some time on different summer training assignments. I was on a buoy tender way over in Rhode Island. I was over on a fast response cutter between Miami and the Bahamas, picking up drugs, stopping drug runners here and there. And I'm living it up, or enjoying, or now leaning into college, school, cybersecurity, sort of, not really. You might be able to see at the very bottom because we started to get the breadcrumbs there in place. Well, everything else, you're balancing academics, school, and sports, so to speak, and military. So playing in their bands, I even got to be some of their like regimental review announcer for when they would walk parades and we'd be out and about on the parade field. And that's another kind of key component, if I may, when we lean into the military end of this. The different academies have these core values, or even not to say these restrictions or rules for what you're doing. They have this slogan, a cadet shall not lie, cheat, or steal. Right? You need to be the utmost in integrity. You've got to be strong and sharp and regimented and militant. So they take things like, cheating on your homework, or maybe doing something like getting some food from the wardroom late at night, silly stuff, that they'll kind of crack down on and harp on. And you've got to be in your room, right? You don't have liberty unless you're one of the upperclassmen, can't always go out on the weekends. It's a strange, strange place. But all those rules are in the way alongside what we do. Let me note, though, I was telling you a little bit about some of the training that we did while I was either on a buoy tender or helping support with the parades. And again, this is just how I was getting further and further away from what I thought I wanted to do, which was computers and tech and cybersecurity. But I was telling myself, I kept telling myself, look, this is a springboard, this is a way for me to get a job right out of the gates, but it was really, really not on the keyboard. So I tried to fit that in while I could. I tried to still maybe record some YouTube videos over in the library or practice and play with anything that I could see or learn online. And some time ago, there was the beginnings, the very early embers of the fire for a cyber team. I know this sounds silly, but what I mentioned, we have to balance academics, military duties, and sports. Every cadet or midshipman needs to spend 2 hours a day for like the practice time that they have for their sport of choice. You got to be athletic. So folks that will play football, go play football. Folks that will play soccer, basketball, whatever. And some way, somehow, we were able to swindle some admirals and generals and tell them that, look, cybersecurity is a sport. And it, to a certain extent, can very well be, right? Playing some capture the flag or working in these games and having some competitive edge to what we're up to. And the way that that kind of all took shape was an event that was happening called Cyber Stakes. And this was something that DARPA had put together. I think now it's with the Army Cyber Institute. It's going back and forth with Plaid Parliament opponent, for all secure team. Anyway, they hosted this game, this event, where they invited all the different service academies. There was an online qualifier for the cadets or midshipmen that might want to play and participate. And I wanted to try my hand at it, and as a fourth class or as a freshman, right, sort of thing. And I guess I did well enough that they said, hey John, you can come along for the in-person actual event, IRL. And that was kind of a sweet opportunity because it meant, hey, we're finally on keyboard, we're finally doing some technology stuff, and it's a CTF. I didn't realize it or know it at the time, but it is a capture the flag. Beating up Jeopardy-style challenges, breaking binaries, web application security, cryptography here and there. And those were the, again, beginning breadcrumbs that start to kind of open the floodgates for me. I have a very visceral memory, someone that I'll probably never forget, a very vivid memory when, hey, we are on our way to the Cyber Stakes event and competition and game. Because I'm still a freshman, right? I'm still a fourth class. I got to be at the position of attention, squared up, raced away, walking down the ladder well, and they're instilling all this discipline in you, and even, will you do the right thing when no one's watching, kind of thing. Now, at 2 in the morning, well before Reveille, well before the trumpets and alarms that all go up to wake everyone up, just after taps, after 10 p.m. midnight and all. 2 in the morning when we leave to go to this event, I gotta be squaring down the stairs of the ladder well to make sure I'm always at the edge. No one's around to watch, but I remember thinking in the moment, this is it. Like, this is what I really wanted to do. This is tech, this is cybersecurity, and it's getting to work sort of side by side with other service members, the cadets and the shipmen, government and military. It felt super exciting. And I'm glad that opened the floodgates, because I had no idea what a CTF was, and this was the whole introduction. Now I gotta say, we were not that good. First opportunity, first time we're at an event like this, and kind of feeling a little bit like the underdogs. We don't have a computer science degree, we don't have a strict cybersecurity major or program. We're starting from scratch, kind of with nothing to go off of here. But that began the cyber team as we realized, okay, all the other services and academies are taking this more seriously. We really need to start. And we'll kick up and start this sort of extracurricular after class, after school activity. A club, a team, a sport, so to speak, when we'll have a dedicated 1600 to 1800 time period every day to practice and play. And that was awesome, because that meant, okay, we're actually getting a chance to practice. We're actually getting a chance to learn. We're actually finding material, training, different war games, different cyber ranges, different things that we could cut our teeth on and get super sharp. And then we kind of started to get with it. I had so much fun with this because I felt like, hey, freshman kind of thing. We started off strong, getting an opportunity to go to this event. How could I teach other people what I'm learning about? How could I create new exercises or war games and just sort of teach colleagues and peers and friends? And then we started to crush it. We go to different events, CDX, NCX, all these acronyms here for cyber defense, or NSA cyber exercise, cool things there. Different cyber stakes competitions where we come back and now start to win. Get a gold medal, get a silver medal, get a bronze medal. And we weren't just the underdogs. We weren't just kind of the bottom. That was awesome. And we do this a little bit, a couple years go by, and we get to, not to say the senior year, but yeah, realistically, okay, the final year of my time and tenure at the Coast Guard Academy, and I am becoming what is the team captain, or the cutesy sports team captain, to be the club president kind of thing, of our extracurricular learning cybersecurity. And we now have a whole lot of VIPs that want to come on base, come onto the academy and learn and understand, what is the cyber team doing? What is Coast Guard cyber going to look like? Who do we have kind of upcoming in a generation to do this a little bit more? And I'm the dude that gets to talk to these generals or these gold stars and whatever admirals that might come to work with some of those VIPs and present to them what we've been doing, what we're learning, and just try to make cybersecurity approachable for folks like that. That's a very fascinating and wild experience because you're trying to prepare demos for folks that are very detached from technology and cybersecurity in the world today. We had some of the previous commandant or VIP kind of folks where we wanted to let them play with a sort of heartbleed exercise. Folks are familiar with heartbleed? Yeah, old vulnerability, leaking data from some server here. So we put together, I had made some small cutesy interface on the command line where you could give it a word, much like the XKCD comic, if folks are familiar with this. Give it a word like apple and say, how long is that word? Well, apple is just 5 letters, so we'd return the 5 letters of the word apple. So if you gave it the word apple and then said, look, this word is actually 500 characters long, it will spit back some more data. So super tiny, super little experiment and demo to replicate a heartbleed bug for someone that has no idea a lot of this tech behind it. And I tell this anecdote, I'm sorry, because we handed this high-flying folk the wireless keyboard to be able to type in the word apple into the thing. And we handed him the keyboard, and he had it like backwards. He did not know that he needed to turn the wireless keyboard around to be able to use the keyboard. So that was sometimes, the stories that we would tell of folks that were trying to get a little bit sharper and smarter in security. But that's an anecdote, I'm sorry. I tell you all this because I feel like I found some footing. I found the passion, and I'm able to explore and fall down that rabbit hole while I'm at the Coast Guard Academy, which it seemed like from the beginning there wasn't going to be an outlet for what I was up to. And I got to cut my teeth on it. I got to get smart, I got to learn, I got to practice, I got to prepare material, train folks, train friends, and I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed with it, and that became all that I cared about. I didn't want to do schoolwork. I didn't want to deal with any of the military uniform inspection, march parade things. Everything else just sort of faded away because I wanted to do cybersecurity stuff. I wanted to keep pouring into the cyber team. And I kind of lost my grip on everything else. And I'm getting to that senior year, right? Falling asleep in class, but thinking like, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll graduate and maybe we can make it to Coast Guard Cyber Command. That was kind of the end goal. Now a new billet or assignment that could be opened up. But I found myself getting in some hot water. And there are a couple anecdotes that we could kind of keep pouring into here. Different stories that, hey, John is on the hook for things that probably are not the best look. Some of my teammates, some of my classmates, some of the folks in the cyber team are underclassmen. And they are individuals that are super excited, passionate, and want to love this whole cyber team just as well. But they are fighting schoolwork and dealing through all this stuff. And at one point, there was a assignment in one of their courses or school classes that I had already passed because I was an upperclassman, they were an underclassman, and they said like, hey John, could I just use the template that you wrote for this report so that way we could speed up and get that work done because they were busy with the MIT CTF or some other event that we were out and about for. I'm like, yeah, sure, of course, here you go. And this is something that is in another class that I'm not in, and an assignment that I don't have. And they use this template, they change all the material, they tweak up the content, and they forget to leave my name on that paper that they submit and report and put in for their homework. And remember, cadets shall not lie, cheat, or steal. But now they have cheated on this homework, this assignment, because, they had this template that I had given them, which is the same as what you could find on some online resource like Blackboard or Desire to Learn for folks that know that in the education realm. But now I'm on the hook too, because I'm the senior member, and, I cheated, even though I'm not in that class and don't have that assignment. So I started to kind of bite back at that scenario. I would sit through whatever honor board or mast or sort of the non-judicial punishment kind of thing that they let cadets go through to emulate and replicate what's out and about in the Coast Guard or other services. And I kind of got my wrist slapped for that. That puts you on probation. That puts you on suitability for service, where you're no longer allowed to leave the campus, even if you earn some of those privileges as you kind of climb the ranks to become an upperclassman, senior, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes there's room restriction where you can't leave base. Sometimes there's different suitability for service where they put you kind of within the shackles there. And this happens a couple other situations, a couple other times, because there are further investigations where these underclassmen that I'm out and about with, maybe after I've been on this suitability for service or this probation, if I request or write a special request to please ask permission to go out for maybe a holiday ball or celebration or dance that we have, right? Military dance, military ball kind of thing, winter formal. I got the authorized permission, but these other second class, you might be able to 2/C or 3/C. The numbers here are 4 being a freshman, 3 being sophomore, etc. I was not tracking that they didn't have permission or overnight availability to leave base and stay at some hotel or Airbnb. Now again, I'm the senior member, and I'm kind of on the hook for that, even if I wasn't aware and was tracking. And you may or may not have different opinions. John, of course, maybe you should or shouldn't be in trouble finger wagging for something like that. But it did kind of put me on the coals. And with that, already damaged with some reputation stuff of honor development, honor remediation for the previous infraction, incident and breach, they lock it all down a little bit further. John, now you've got to write some journals. You've got to tell us how you've improved your honor and all of the internal growth that you've had from your professional development walking through these experiences, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm on strike number 2, right? And we're getting close to what's supposed to be graduation, what's supposed to be, the new beginning of the rest of my life and getting out of schoolwork and hopefully finding a way to Coast Guard Cyber Command to be able to do this a little bit more. And I could tell you a little bit more, but I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we'd like to go. While I am on this suitability for service and probation where I'm not allowed to leave base, of course, all of the graduated cadets and officers in the military have to be very well-rounded. So there's some mandatory classes that you'll have to take on lifetime sports, like racquetball, or badminton, or golf. And as a sophomore, you take one of these, and as a first year or senior, you'll take the next advanced class. So I was taking advanced golf, and advanced golf requires you to leave base and go play on a real golf course, not just putter around on like the football field on campus. I don't know if you caught the key word there. That means leave base, which I can't do. And I'm sure I could have raised my hand and tried to be a squeaky wheel to say, hey, how am I supposed to get this done as my assignment to play however many rounds of golf? And these scorecards that are necessary to prove and to apply testament that you did go out and play golf or do at the end of the semester after final exams and all this at the very end of the year. Now I'm scrambling. And this is, again, maybe a blunder. I don't know when it is, what day, what time, but I'm like, I got to get these scorecards just out of my life, out of the way. And folks probably all the time just fill in whatever days they went to the golf course. Submit that, turn it in, here you go. Now, I was not paying attention or not being as smart as I should be with my clever tricks because another officer, a class teacher, instructor comes to me and says like, hey John, I was looking at your golf scorecards and I don't think you did go golfing on January 17th because there was a snowstorm that day. I said, oh yeah, you're right. And that's one of those, cadet shall not lie, cheat or steal things. And I just filled out some golf card timelines, and that is the stupid, silly straw that broke the camel's back. That's our third strike, and maybe we want to think, I didn't get to particularly get my way out the door because I didn't play enough golf. But I remember in the evaluation reports as a member of either cadet, enlisted, or officer, you have your OER or EER. Folks might be familiar with that acronym. And I remember senior year, final semester, absolute end of this 4-year race, squaring away and being in uniform, going to class and work every day. Like it was etched in stone. Commanding officer and company officer says, John is not ready to graduate. And I'm like, crap. 4 years of the life that I wanted to set in place while it was handed to me on a silver platter, free air quote school, free training and education and all the things that I've done to be able to build up this team, speak with the microphone for parades, be in the band. Just slipped through my fingers because I made some stupid mistakes. And they say, hey John, that's 3 strikes, you're out. After all of these non-judicial punishment proceedings, you're masked, kind of the, investigation as they uncover, you're out the door, dude. Sorry, we can't let you graduate. And that, okay, is a bit of a hit. That's a good swift kick in the pants, but I'm trying to be all adult and tough, like, all right, we'll move forward, we'll figure it out, we'll determine what goes next in our life. Maybe this is a good thing, somewhat, some way, somehow. Maybe we get to do more of the cybersecurity work we were thinking of. But remember how I said it was free? That doesn't normally happen, right? It doesn't normally go through the situation where someone gets kicked out at the very end of their military training time period. And the way that they remedy this is by giving you two options. You could do financial recoupment and pay back whatever the government and military has paid for you, or you could do the equivalent time as an enlisted member as a boatswain's mate, in this case, like, running the lines, handling small boats at the small boat station. Now, I don't have a spare $200,000 or whatever the heck it might have been, and I thought, let's go for that enlisted option. Let's just go be a boatswain's mate. I'll kick around however many years, again, just wasting away, not doing the cybersecurity stuff I want to do. And now while I'm leaving the academy, while I'm leaving the campus, school base, while we're doing this out-processing work, they kind of put you on busy work, because you can't be in a school classroom anymore. You can't be in the barracks with the other cadets. You're just kind of weird zombie purgatory state. So they give me a little job as some busy work to work with the IT shop. And we do some things to check the education devices, servers, different printers here on base in campus. And I'm basically running inventory. Stupid stuff, trying to work through, do we have everything that we should? And this is still just stuff that is not cybersecurity, but it's something to get you out of sight, out of mind. Now, I make another blunder here. Are folks familiar with Nersoft tools? Yeah, I see a couple nods. Nersoft is neat. It's a utility and collection of tools for uncovering passwords. To be able to see, remember you forgot your password? Let's go see what it would be. From cache data, from things stored on your Windows operating system. And at some point, while I'm bebopping around looking at different servers, trying to go, take the property tag and do inventory on these different rooms and different classrooms, stupid me gets a dumb idea and just kind of wonders, what's on that computer over there? I wonder what's there. That is silly things. And this is something that I poked and played with before because I was on the security team and cyber team, and just, could I use this Nersoft tool to uncover passwords? And I had it on a network drive because that was something that, again, we got to do for the work that I did. And I thought I'd run that on my computer. In that computer, in that classroom, in that basement of that building, I don't remember exactly how it would have been hooked up or triggered one way or another, but HBSS, host-based security system, probably did not like me running passwords and trying to see what and recover what they all are. So that raised a little alert, and that got me even further on the naughty list, because I have committed now a significant cyber violation, and I am a cyber criminal. Whoops. Now they don't trust John with the computer, so they take away the laptop, they commandeer, they say John can no longer work with the IT shop, they say don't let him communicate or talk with any cadets because he'll be poisoning the air, toxic environment, and they say you cannot go enlisted as a boatswain's mate anymore, we're getting you out of the Coast Guard. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And they give me more busy work. I get to pull weeds, I get to do some landscaping, I get to roll the lawnmower around, and for some time I actually did that grounds work with a couple of civilians and contractors to the point where I was just rolling around on the ground in mulch to pull weeds. Now I am a light-skinned guy with red hair, and I got a big sunburn. So I went to the chapel, the kind of campus chaplain and said, like, can I do something else? Because this is quite literally burning me up. And they said, look, you can go do public works. You can work with the team that might need to manage the government vehicles. So I got to leave base to go drive those around, bring them to the car wash, and then just do other odd jobs, other busy work. More inventory, determining what needs to go in the trash for recycling, not cybersecurity work, carrying desks, carrying couches, carrying stupid stuff that doesn't matter. This is all at the Coast Guard Academy campus, which has a very green, very New England vibe to it, right? And they have a lot of trees. I don't know if you saw or seen a blue little tag on the trees, but turns out that should be inventory too. So my tasking was quite literally, go count trees. And they gave me a map of all however many thousands of trees on campus. This was silly. We did this for air conditioners. Once I got done with the trees, I really liked this job a lot better. Try to see the heating in one room, and I would try and scramble to get my life in order while I would pour into YouTube. I can't be in the regular cadet barracks, so in Monroe Hall or the other kind of sequestered spot. I'm trying to spend time to put things away. And these 9 months or so, however long, that I've been waiting around, just literally 9 months, or I don't know, maybe 6 in this timeline here, all this out processing that they needed to do, all the back and forth of the paperwork and the filings and all, I'm just wasting away. So I finally asked, can I leave? Can I have this leave without pay? And finally it's approved. And then I begin trying to rebuild my life. What I thought I was backed into a corner, when I thought I kind of had nothing else to work off of and rebuild with, I go to these different events. I would speak at BSides Connecticut. That was kind of the first gig. And then I started to cold call people on the internet. Literally just, hey, who can I reach out to? Who can I ask for help from? And I found people that I just thought looked cool. They had a high follower count. They had some sweet, funny, cool banner or profile picture. And some way, somehow, I messaged a gentleman named Kyle. And if folks aren't too familiar with Huntress or my day job, right, he's the old CEO there. He calls himself the chief janitor. And it was just absolute cold call outreach to some stranger on the internet. Hey, I do this online security stuff. I try to make videos. Would you be willing to give it a shout out? And this is, again, me scrambling, me trying to cover what I could do. Kyle says, yeah, I can take a look at this. And look, you don't need to ask for some payment or try to figure out a money conversation. It's a very Kyle thing to say while he's laughing at some of these. But I know I'm coming to the end of time, so I do want to speed this up. I'm sorry I was rambling for a little bit. As I get to know Kyle over the internet, we schedule some time to catch up, to meet in person. I'm finally out of the academy and trying to find my career over in DC. And eventually, years later, while those screenshots might have been in 2018, come 2020, he says, look, John, we've been having a lot of fun at Huntress. Do you want to come join the party now? And that opened the door for really me to find the current day job, where I have myself now. All of this is to say, and I will wrap this up because I know I've been rambling and I feel like we kind of cut ourselves off at the end here. When you have this idea of success, or what you accomplish, or what you want to do, you don't really think of those turns or those twists or the mistakes that might be made along the way. It's not a straight line. It's some completely random, scattered, sometimes going backwards, going all over the place as to how you find what you think you want for success. The YouTube thing along the lines that I've had concurrent throughout my life just got to be something I could pour into because I kind of got myself kicked to the curb over with what I thought would be my career, Coast Guard and all. So you might be able to see some of the arrows here, 0 way back in 2011. Maybe you can see the graph start to curve up for, hey, 2018, once I'm kicked out of the Coast Guard. And then 2020, once I jump in with Huntress, that red arrow does as well. And we see this thing grow. That's been very, very, very cool and very surreal. But I do want to wrap this up. I don't know if that's a call to action for you. When you're thinking of what you might be up to here at the conference, try to take everything that you learn, so you have some notes, so you have something to bring back home, so you have something to bring to the team and colleagues. Know that it'll take time for you getting sharper and you getting better. I have this silly analogy of an ice cube, and this sounds stupid, maybe kind of waxing poetic, but say you could try to melt this ice cube. That's your goal, that's your objective. That's something that you got to do over time. Maybe there's some rule or limitation, you can only change the temperature in this, fridge imaginary situation here, maybe 1 degree at a time or 1/10 of a degree at the time. How can you get this thing to melt? Well, eventually, it will melt because you put in that work, you try to turn the heat on, but no one's going to get to see that effort. No one's going to get to see the transition when that ice cube melts. And doing that, putting in that work, finding those mistakes, finding those failures, burnout, things that put you in a place you never thought you'd be in, I know those suck. But no one also talks about when you've reached that goal, when you've met the finale, when you're kind of there at the end. You got a good story to tell. Good, bad, and ugly. You got an origin story. I hope you had some fun with my fatigue, failures, and the unexpected path that I found myself on to get here. Maybe you never melt the ice cube, but you keep at it. You keep trying. You keep up that effort. Keep the heat on. Thanks, everybody. I hope that was a little bit of a